Let's understand the principles of performing a safe phacoemulsification in a patient with a corneal opacity. One of the biggest challenges that you face when you're dealing with a corneal opacity clearly is that of limited visibility. Let's watch this case and understand the challenges faced in every step, and let's see how we manage this case. This patient has a grade 2 nuclear sclerosis, a mid-dilated pupil, posterior synechiae inferiorly, and a significant corneal opacity in the lower half of the cornea. Let's now move to watching the surgery and understand the principles in managing a patient with a corneal opacity. While making the incisions, we need to remember that sometimes, depending on the position of the opacity, we might need to change the position of our main incision and therefore also the paracentesis incisions. This might be required to take advantage of the clear area of the cornea while performing the nucleus disassembly and emulsification. The next step is the staining of the anterior capsule with blue dye. We need to take adequate time to stain the anterior capsule because the stained anterior capsule affords a lot more visibility while creating the rhexis, especially in a case like this where you have an overlying corneal opacity. In order to attempt an inferior synecholysis, some viscoelastic is introduced into the anterior chamber. After which, as you can see, an iris suppository sweeps under the iris, resulting in the successful breakdown of the posterior synechiae. Some more viscoelastic is then introduced into the eye, after which we are now ready to proceed with the capsulorhexis. With a well-fashioned cystotome, I start my capsulorhexis superiorly in the area of the clear cornea. The challenge of making the capsulorhexis starts at the area of the corneal opacity. Always ensure that when you're creating a rhexis in a patient like this, you have adequate globe stability. By moving the eye around to be able to aid my visibility and take advantage of the limited red glow, I carefully navigate the tearing edge of the rhexis to circumvent the area of the corneal opacity to get back to the clear area of the cornea. After which, once more I put in some viscoelastic into the anterior chamber, and now as you can see, I'm successfully able to complete the rhexis. Next, I decompress the anterior chamber, removing some amount of viscoelastic, and proceed with the hydrodissection on either side. When I complete the hydrodissection on the left side, you will notice that there's a prolapse of the inferior pole of the nucleus into the anterior chamber. I introduce some more viscoelastic, a dispersive viscoelastic this time, after which we are ready to perform the nucleus management. The Phaco probe is introduced into the eye. The second instrument, which is a short chopper, is introduced through the paracentesis incision, and watch how all the superficial cortex, which could obscure further the visibility of the anterior surface of the nucleus, is aspirated. Having aspirated the cortex, I am now ready to perform the direct chop. With respect to the nucleus disassembly in the patient with the corneal opacity, I would take the following into consideration. Depending on the position and the extent of the corneal opacity, I will try and impale the nucleus and chop it, even slightly eccentrically if required, so as to have maximum visibility. Moving on with the case, as I impale into the nucleus and get a good hold of it, I'm able to actually elevate this soft endonucleus out of the bag. And I think in a patient with a corneal opacity where you've got a compromise on visibility, elevating the endonucleus out of the bag prior to chopping it and emulsifying the fragments is a good idea. Largely because your chances of then damaging the posterior capsule because of limited visibility are minimized. In this way, each heminucleus is now elevated out of the bag and broken down into smaller fragments prior to the emulsification. This is what you will see in this part of the video. Note how I try and perform all my steps of nucleus disassembly and emulsification in the area of the clear cornea where I have much more visibility. Next, we attempt to remove the epinucleus with the epinucleus mode of the Phaco. As you can see, I perform a viscodissection on the right side with the view of attempting to prolapse the epinucleus inwards, and having been successful in doing so, once more I introduce a Phaco probe in the eye, and in the epinucleus mode, I am able to successfully aspirate the epinucleus. You will notice that once you have removed the epinucleus and the nucleus, we have so much more visibility because of the advantage afforded by the red glow. Next, we proceed with a bimanual irrigation aspiration. The corneal opacity in this case does not extend to up to and beyond the pupil in the periphery, thereby making the removal of the cortex fairly easy, because we are able to hold on to the cortex under direct visibility, draw it to the center prior to aspirating it from all around. In such patients with the corneal opacity, sometimes I find with the irrigation and aspiration cannula in the eye, using the irrigation cannula to roll the eye either to the left, right, superiorly or inferiorly adds to the ease of removing the cortex by enhancing visibility depending on where the corneal opacity actually lies. Having removed the cortex and under viscoelastic cover, the single-piece monofocal IOL is introduced in the capsular bag. Next, we proceed with the visco-wash. By performing a rock and roll movement of the IOL, the viscoelastic is removed successfully from behind the IOL, after which it is removed completely from the anterior chamber, and having done so while maintaining the irrigation in the eye, the incisions are hydrated. And finally, the irrigation probe is removed from the eye and the right paracentis incision also hydrated. And this, as you can see, is the end result that we achieved. I hope you found this video tutorial useful. Thank you.